If you smell what my ass is cooking, maybe? I don't know. Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning from wherever you are. Unless you've been living under a rock as a wrestling fan, you would have seen the shenanigans that took place this Friday at SmackDown, where Cody comes out, gives a speech, and then The Rock comes out, and they hug, and something's muttered, and basically The Rock steals limelight and destroys the momentum of Cody Rhodes, which, even outside of The Rock, it seems to be a recurring theme here at WWE, where they derail shit-hot faces for the sake of, I don't know, let's put it down to box office or money or something stupid like that. Because they did it with Sami Zayn, they did it with twice with Cody Rhodes now, they're doing it with LA Knight. And then they sit there with a thumbs up their ass going, ooh, this company doesn't have a baby face that we can circle the whole company around anymore. I wonder why that is. Anyway, so to put into context, there's been a slew of injuries that have hit WWE, and CM Punk's injury has kind of derailed the whole of WrestleMania. I mean, CM Punk needs to realize he's made of glass now. Some people can wrestle their whole career and get minimum amount of injuries, and some just their body starts falling apart once they hit their late 30s. Okay, it's just a fact of life. I'm not dissing anyone. It's just a fact of life. I sneezed once and pulled my back and my hamstring and was screwed for 3 weeks. So I'm just saying, and this is from a guy who, despite being fat, was always extremely fit for their size, but my body just started falling apart once I hit my mid-30s. It just happens. CM Punk is at that stage now where he's very limited in what he can do, and so he needs to be booked with more kid gloves in that regard. As damaging as that could be to the product or his ego, that's the reality of it. But anyway, he got injured, he's torn his tricep, so he's out of Mania. The initial storylines for Mania was going to be him versus Seth Rollins and Cody versus Roman Reigns, with hopefully Cody winning the championship, though rumors were circulating that they still wanted to push Roman Reigns to beat Hogan's record. I don't know how true that is. But because of everything that's happened, and because meatheads and creative are stupid and they don't know how to book wrestling in the 21st century, we have instead The Rock coming out, and he now, by the way, he holds $30 million worth of shares in TKO Holdings, so he is quite literally the head of the table at WWE because he has some sway, and as his wealth grows, he can probably buy a lot more stock. Now, all that being said, The Rock comes out, and essentially, instead of getting Cody versus Roman, which is what everyone and their mother wanted, we're now going to get The Rock versus Roman. And there's been a lot of disdain towards that online, rightfully so. We've got another kind of Daniel Bryan situation and another CM Punk situation, going back a decade now. And if I was WWE, okay, look, you know where this is going, right? Roman, right? But if I was WWE, I'd capitalize on this disdain, okay? Because they only think with money, they don't think of story, which if you don't do that, that can have a long-term knock-on effect. If you don't build good story, people won't be invested. Look at the collapse of AEW. Because they're garbage booking, the product has just fallen apart and hardly anyone's watching it anymore, okay? But if I'm WWE, I'll take this situation, and if The Rock or Dwayne can put his ego aside for 1 minute, this should be the beginning, the birth of corporate rock, or the rebirth. I know they did a corporate angle, back in the day, but the rebirth of legit corporate rock in the vein of kind of, Vince McMahon was the character Vince McMahon, which you come to find out is no different to the actual Vince McMahon. But, this should be the birth of that. A heel rock corporate guy screwing over people, trying to take control over everything. And you need to do this. It's the most logical way to do this. But because of Dwayne's ego, this is not going to happen. He's going to do everything and anything to kind of salvage it so he comes out the good guy and on top. That is the wrong move for business. You know, people understand the difference between Dwayne Johnson, the real guy, who's a nice guy with a big ego. That's fair enough. He's allowed to have a big ego, even if it has been to the detriment recently. But the character, The Rock, in wrestling, and I think that it's gold because of the personality that Dwayne has, the charisma that he has. He can just, he can do so much with it. And that way you can bring Cody back into the fold and say, no, this isn't good enough, you know. And the nuclear heat that this would create, and I mean heat, the good heat with the crowd really behind Cody, they could have a WrestleMania moment that will be as everlasting as, you know, when Seth kind of came in and won when nobody expected that to happen, when Daniel Bryan won, even when Kofi won, you know, these kind of really memorable moments. But if they just do The Rock versus Roman, no one's going to care. And it will probably do low viewing numbers because the disdain and outcry has been that much. Not just by the community, but by wrestlers themselves and, you know, well-known wrestling personalities that kind of worked in the business and all this kind of stuff. So that's the way to salvage it. You know, in terms of Seth Rollins, it's a very easy fix. He kind of always comes across as a tweener anyway. You do Seth versus Gunther and you put Gunther over as a double champion. Gunther is so over right now that anything he does will just get massive cheers from the crowd. You know, there was plans to bring Brock Lesnar in. I don't know why they keep tapping that well. He's just get rid of Brock Lesnar anyway. And now he's never going to come back after the revelations during the whole Vince McMahon scandal. And so there is enough on the roster to fix WrestleMania without what happening. But because it's happened with The Rock, you've got to run with it now. And you've got to create heel Rock, corporate Rock. And just you've got years of storyline here because he's 50 years old. He's in great shape. He might not be able to wrestle as much as he used to. You know, he hasn't got that fitness that he once did, which is fair enough. But there's so much he could do with that. He can literally take over the table. He could destroy Roman. Then you bring back Roman as a good guy when he wants to come back and all this kind of stuff. There is so much potential here. You know, you can even get, because I love him personally when he's heel, you can even have eventually Cody turn into the dark side. Become heel Cody and part of the kind of corporate stable and all this kind of stuff. Because heel Cody is brilliant. But there is so much potential and they need to get it right. And I have a funny feeling they're not going to think like that. They're not going to think story. They're going to think short-term money and profits. But in the long term, it's not going to do them any good. At least I think. You never know. But just in terms of engaging with the crowd and getting them involved, that's the best way to go. That is it. Let me know your thoughts on the situation regarding The Rock taking the spotlight away from Cody and what they should do with it going forward. That is all. Let normality resume.